Welcome to What's New in Aligned Elements version 3.1. We have been working on this release for the last 9 months, and I am truly excited to present what we got here today. We've been working hard, and our team has come up with great ideas, as so has you as our customers, and I'm very happy that we have implemented so many new features based on your requests. I'm going to start out presenting, and my colleague Anders Emmerich is going to help me later on. This presentation is recorded, and you can find it later on our website and on our YouTube channel. And in this presentation, I have tried to highlight clearly which of these features that are available in the web client, which are available in the Windows client, and which of these are active per default and which needs to be activated via configuration changes. You will see that on the slides throughout the presentation. All right, so version 3.1 of Aligned Elements, it's a big release. We have packed it with good features, and what I am most excited to tell you about are the new AI-supported actions in Aligned Elements. So we have worked here to add some AI-powered functions. These include generating verification test cases, suggestions by setting traces, and also in an intelligent way summarize titles. And I'm going to go through them here today to show you what they could look like. This is my example project, and I have written down a number of requirements here, and I want to show you how you can use this AI functionality to draft a test case. Let's say I have a test case here that is processing image latency, for example. It is written like this. And as you know, I can use the generate function to generate a new verification test case. And what I get then is pretty much an empty test case here. Now, new in the actions dropdown is populate with AI, which means that we send the requirement to an AI engine with some additional information and let the AI engine then write the test case for us. And it then automatically populates all the attributes that we have. And we have now a two-step test case with very reasonable testing steps. And this can then be added to your Aligned Elements installation, of course. And we hope that this then helps you and to accelerate your test case writing efforts. Of course, we always want to keep the human in the loop. So that means that the AI never stores anything. You are always the human that decides and assesses the suggestion from the AI. You can build upon it and expand on it before you save it. So in this example that I did, we only had one incoming requirement to write this test case. You can use several incoming test requirements and write a combined test cases using the AI as well. So really cool, very happy with this. This really helped us as well in our regular work. The next cool AI function that I would like to show you has to do with suggesting traces. So you know that when you're setting traces, especially when you're in the middle of the life cycle, it can be hard to find those good traces among all the possible candidates that are there. It's hard for you to know, okay, if I have a new requirement or I've made an additional requirement, has that already been tested somewhere else, for example? So let me show you with an example what I mean with this. So I have my requirements here. I can use my positive cues to find out which have already been traced, which have not been traced. So down here, I have a candidate packaging size, for example. It hasn't been traced. Maybe somebody already wrote a test case for this. So I select trace to verification test case. The new now is this AI suggestion button here at the bottom. And if I click that, an AI evaluates all the existing traces and marks some of the candidates here. So the AI now found 2 candidates, packaging and transportation test, and size. So I can, of course, use the highlighting or hovering functionality to take a look at them and decide for myself which of these are best, or if maybe both covers my initial requirement. So this has a dual purpose then. On one hand, if I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to trace to, I can let the AI try to find suggestions. And of course, if the AI doesn't find a good suggestion, you will be duly noted by the AI. Or maybe I know that I have a couple of candidates that I have traced to, but maybe there are already existing test cases that additionally test my requirements. And I can then click on the AI suggest and see how my already selected test cases actually matches the suggestion from the AI. So that's something that is really cool as well. I hope that this speeds up and assists you then in the trace setting actions. And again, the AI never stores anything, it just suggests things, so you need to make the final decision after a proper assessment on this information. Now, the final functionality where AI can support us has to do with titles. And as you guys know, in aligned elements, all the document objects or design control items, they always have a title. And in particular, for example, if you import already existing information from a document, it's not always the case that you have a proper title. And we keep telling you in our trainings that what the title should be something short and to the point that actually describes what the entire item does. So what this new summarize button does then is just taking a look at the available information in the object, and you click it, and it then suggests you a title based on what you have here. It is short and snappy and to the point. So if you find yourself having to come up with titles for a large number of items that you maybe have imported, then this summarized title is excellent for you. Now, these AI features are built upon OpenAI algorithms, and that means that we can connect aligned elements to OpenAI. And there are two ways that you can do this. If you have an OpenAI account yourselves, we can use those credentials to configure your connection with OpenAI, and then depending on which payment tier you are on with OpenAI, that then sets the limit on how much you can use these features. Now, if you are concerned with that your data is sent to OpenAI and you don't want that, you would like to have a dedicated box that only belongs to you, where you know for certain that your information that you send in will not be public. For those of you who are Aligned Elements SaaS customers, where we host your server, we can then connect you and set up a dedicated Azure OpenAI box for you that only you have access to, meaning that you can be totally sure that the information that you send in when you use the AI functionality does not reach anybody that shouldn't have access to it. This is an additional service. It will cost 150 euros per year should you choose to use it. So those are the 3 AI features that I would like to present today. This is a first step, I hope, in a long journey of additional AI support, and I hope that you reach out to us and tell you where you think that AI can support your daily work, working with aligned elements and with design controls. I'd be happy to hear about what you have to say about this and what your ideas are. Now, moving on with further functions here. We have done a lot of cool new UI improvements in the web client UI. And I'd like to show them to you. So one of the things that we have done is a new form layout. In the classic layout, we have a layout where we have all the attribute names on the left side and the attribute values on the right side stacked on top of each other. And in this new layout, for those who have used the Windows client, you're familiar with this, but here we can put several attributes on a single row, up to 4 attributes to a single row. So we make a lot better use of the UI, filling up the entire screen then, which means that we can put all the information fairly high up on the screen so you don't have to scroll. Furthermore, we have added collapsible sections, so you can group your attributes into sections that are collapsible to keep the screen even cleaner. This new layout format also includes that for table attributes, we can now use the entire width of the screen, because there can be a little bit of a real estate problem when we have table attributes, the cells becoming very small. But now we can use the entire width of the screen. We have also added functionality to restrict the width of the individual columns. So if there are columns that we know will never contain a lot of data, we can deliberately keep them very narrow. So we can allocate as much room as possible to the other columns that really need it. We have also made the scrolling of the chapter view independent of the scrolling of the actual form, which means that you can now scroll far down in this list and open an item without having to scroll up again. In some cases, when you have design controls that depend on each other very much, for example, when we work with the risk assessment, we start out with a potential hazard analysis, and then we link that to our actual risks. It could be nice if we could see which potential hazards a particular risk relates to. And we can always find that down here in the trace from. Here we can see the incoming traces to a particular item. We have now added something called trace hints, which means that we take exactly this information, incoming or outgoing traces of a particular kind, and place it on the top of the form. And this now gives you more context about what you're supposed to do. So if you're going to write a test case like this, we can show you the incoming requirements, for example, really high up in the form, so you have the proper context to start writing your particular items. Yeah, we have also added an improved rich text editing. You know that the rich text editor can be a bit challenging sometimes, but our team has now worked on make it more user-friendly, looking at things like lists and bullet point lists. And we have also seen that people have really requested search in multi-select attributes. So if you have a multi-select attribute, you can get a really wrong drop-down, and people would like to have a search functionality in this attribute, and that's also something that we have added per default now. When it comes to test run improvements, we have also added something that our customers have told us is really necessary. Starting out with displaying the previous test result in a test run. What we mean here is that when you do your second or third or fourth test run, you probably want to have a good way to prioritize your test. Which test should you write first? Well, probably those that failed in the previous test run. And now we can actually display the results of the previous test results when you start a new test run, and that makes it easier for you then to prioritize. We have also added the functionality to create individual unique test results per test run. So now you can get a test result not only per test case execution or per combination of a test case and a configuration, but you now also have the option of getting a unique test result per test run. As you know, then in the word output of a test result, up until now, it wasn't possible to display the name of the configuration or the name of the test run, and that's something that we have added as well. Continuing now with improvements to the review functionality. Reviews are getting increasingly more popular, but then also the demands on what the review should do also increases. And here we have received a request on resetting the review assessment when the underlying object changes. That means, say that you reject an item and then you make a change to that item in order to fix the problem. Now you want everybody to actually take a new look at this particular item and make an assessment again in order to state whether they are happy with the change or not. So what we do now with this additional config option is to, once an item is updated, the existing assessment is then reset, and everybody get an email that they need to reassess this item to validate that the change that has been made is actually acceptable to everyone. We have also added the possibility to prevent closing of a review if it still contains rejected or non-assessed items, in order to ensure that when you close a review, everybody has given thumbs up on the review itself. We have strengthened the report engine as well, and we now include both comments and tags in the Excel reports from the chapter view. We have also included the possibility to export table attributes in Excel reports, and the possibility to select among available word variants when we generate a template-based word report. Now my colleague Anders will continue with some...
Good to have them in here. my pleasure to show you a couple of more features. This is going to be a bit all over the place, but I hope it's helpful. This is also a web client only thing where you have a common user management for basically all users and all projects. Here we've added a bunch of additional filters, letting you filter on usernames, email projects, if email's been confirmed, if the user is currently active in the system, if it's has a web admin role or been disabled. And it's also possible, based on this selection, to send out a mail to the users that hit that filter. So that you can kind of inform people that are currently active, we are gonna go for a nice little coffee break. There's cake on floor 2, for example. Something that is a bit bigger than what looks like on this little slide here is what we call projects overview and assign to queries. I'm going to start kind of from something that you know. We have this in the web client. We have this your assigned items where you typically see items, my reviews, and my signatures. That's basically been kind of hardwired in the past. Now it's possible to actually define your own queries, and we place the queries in the templates, so they're going to be available for all projects based on the same templates, and they will now appear here in your assigned items. And with these assigned to queries, we can also say where they should be applied. And we have this new thing for all of the projects on my server that we can list the results from these assigned to queries for all projects in one go. And that's basically what we see on the top here, the projects overview. So imagine that you have, I don't know, 50 projects ongoing within your system, and you want to figure out where do I have to go in and do, for example, review work or sign off on things, or do I have any open test cases? You can get that all in one place. And when you get the long list, you just tick off one item by another, and you can jump directly into the correct project in the neighboring tab. So that's a very good thing. And if it happens to be the case that you have very, very many different objects, we can even like filter on, I'm only interested in actions that for projects that have been modified within the last so-and-so days. So that's a really good thing. To make this work on your system, we have to do some template changes, basically define these assigned to queries. And it's of course only available in the web client. Nice thing about this as well, we're going to see in a couple of slides, is that all the query information is being cached in the background. So if you've loaded it from one view, it's going to be available instantly in the next view. Something also when you have a lot of projects on a server and you work with linked projects, there is a new view now which you can reach from manage projects. It's called view linked projects, which on the left hand side gives you a structure of all the available linked projects and their structures, and you have then the possibility of checking any of these projects, and on the right hand side we'll then gonna display what are all the incoming projects that are actually utilizing that single project. So if you have complex project structures, this is a good way of figuring out how they all relate to each other. And this is also web client only. There's no configuration required to have this visible. You only have to have linked projects on your server. Another thing on linked project is that, let's say I'm working within the context of one master project or parent project, and I'm opening my item, and then I want to figure out, does any other master projects on my server also use the same item? Previously, you would have to go out and basically load all of these other master projects and figure out if the trace is there. Now there is a possibility of looking in the detail view in the trace to or trace from tab. There's a new little button saying load linked traces, and that's going to load traces from any available project within the system, regardless of it belongs to my current linked project structure or not. This is a somewhat expensive operation, meaning that you have to switch it on per configuration. The default behavior is that it's not visible. So all of you that need that functionality after you upgrade, let us know, and we'll tell you exactly what to do to get that running. This is also a web client thing only, because only there we have the notion of all the projects on the same server. Last but not least, when it comes to linked projects, this is actually in the Windows client a feature that's been available for a while. Now we've also made the web client on par with the same behavior. This kind of allows you to insert objects from linked projects into Word document, even though they're not properly traced from the master project. They're not really part of the traceability in the current master project context, but you can still build documents based on them. So there's a little additional entry in the toolbox, show all objects from linked projects, and the default would have been to only show traced objects from linked projects. So that's new and now available in both Windows and web client. And to our knowledge, this is probably the last thing that we had in the Windows client, but not in the web client. That's the thing on linked projects. Now, for those of you working with external issue management system, this first thing is not necessarily only a Jira thing, but most people have Jira in place. What it does is that instead of when you want to set a trace from, for example, an aligned elements item, a requirement to use need or something like that, to an external issue that you have in Jira or GitHub, usually we load everything and you pick one, and it could be a bit cumbersome depending on how many items you have in that external issue management system. Often you even know the number of the item because maybe you have it in the browser already open and you just want to set the trace. Now the default behavior for the web client is that when you get the set trace dialog, it will show you a little new search entry where you can enter the ID, and we'll load as you type. Basically, we search the traces as you type the ID and display it in the trace view, and you can set the trace without having to load, I don't know, sometimes thousands of issues as such. So that's a nice thing. Something that's common to both Windows and web, though, is that we can now introduce multiple Jira issue type. This only applies to Jira. Before you would have to have one aligned elements type per Jira issue type, and now we can map them all into one type. The requirement there is that they also basically contain the same kind of fields, or you only want to display the same kind of fields within aligned elements. If they differ, you still have to go with two different aligned elements type. And we now also have support for what Jira calls a request type, and that can be mapped as a custom field. The display of images in the description is also something that's new for Jira. That's only available in the web client, though. Starting with the assigned to queries, we've also been working a lot on additional query features. One request over the years has been the possibility of creating like an or relationship. Does the title include this, or the description includes that? That's now possible for many of the query filters that we support, not for all. And you will see it in the newly designed query designer. We try to make it a bit more easy to find your way through it. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to go there. Here we go. So you can add a new and filter, or you can add a new or filter. And the type of filters that are available will be displayed in the respective drop-down. Also, if you have a lot of queries in your system, in the regular query dialog or query view, you can actually just search on the query name and they will filter according to your search entry. And to make it easier to create new queries that are similar to other existing queries, there's a little copy button in there as well. Further, there are more filters available. So we've drilled down and enabled filters for approval attributes, for searching texting comments, and also looking for different item states in tests, because that could be sometimes a bit tricky. If people have been assigned, they're not really assigned to the test case, they're assigned to some intermediate item that's a bit hidden, and now you have the possibility of actually finding that information or figuring out if a test has been properly executed and things like that and what the result is. All of these features are web only. The Windows client, they can, for example, read and execute or queries, but you don't have any support for it in the UI. Now, a big thing has been also working on performance. So there's a lot of caching opportunities now available in version 3.1. Queries I already mentioned. Review, since we're building complex like HTML content there from Word, it's also being cached. And with the query cache, we're also caching data for an external issue management system. So if you loaded 1,000 items from Jira and you're going to load them again in 2 minutes, they're already there. One thing to think about, there's this loading options when you load the project in the web client called Force Templates Reload. That one will empty all caches. And that's maybe a good way to, start from scratch if you want to do that. There is configuration available, but the default will be to have these caches set and be active when you get going after the upgrade. Another performance improvement has been when we import data and we have big sets of data and a lot of traces within that data. That's been, I would say, notoriously slow. And now we've managed to speed it up by about, double the speed as before. Something that you probably have seen here is that we've done a lot of things on the web and a bit less on the Windows. We're just trying to keep the Windows client kind of compatible as such. We are planning to stop the further development of the Windows clients within a couple of years. So we're hoping that, especially with your help, that we'll have everything in place in the web client that you need for your daily work. I know it's hard to change something that you're used to and all of that, but we're going to make sure that there's going to be enough teasers in the web client that will make you happy in your daily work anyway. We have seen that we have a lot of more possibilities in the web technologies in making things efficient and nice and user friendly as well. There will be formal communication coming out on this within this year. So it's something that we have on the horizon, but it's not totally finalized when we're gonna stop the Windows client development.
All right, so we have still more features that we want to tell you about. And I will not go into depth with them, but I want to mention them because many people here in the presentation today have actually requested these, and I want you to know that we have actually added them. Starting out with Recif support at import. Many other ALM tools support a standard called Recif for exchanging requirements and traceability information. We now support that import format. So in our aligned importer, you can now upload Recif files and we can convert them to native aligned elements import files to import that. When it comes to risk management, the only large feature that we've added in this release is the possibility to put the probability value in the harm. So we have several clients that have asked for the possibility to create or to expand the harm item to become a hazardous situation and harm item that not only contains the severity parameter, but also the probability parameter. And these companies usually then have standard lists for these hazardous situation and harm combinations. So they want to establish a fixed list with fixed parameters like that they can reuse then efficiently in their risk assessment. So that's a config parameter that can be added then. Then when it comes to date times, man, I find date time attributes challenging. But now we have the possibility to have an empty value in a date time. So instead of having the now date as the standard date, you can have an empty value. We can also set a default value that is a value either in the future or the past. So if you create an issue with a due date, for example, you can set that the default due date is 7 days into the future. So the person that is assigned the item, he has 7 days to fix the issue. When it comes to multi-select attributes, there have been requests to have the possibility to add individual values or remove individual values to multi-select attributes using the batch change or the update multiple items change. That has also been added. When for the companies that are large and work extensively with locking items to make sure that people do not make changes to items that have reached a certain maturity. A locking is, of course, always being followed by an unlock at some point where you need to then release the items again. And as you know, you can do that in the unlock items section. But how do you find all those values then? Well, now you can also get a depiction of the chapters of a type, so you don't necessarily need to search in this really, really long list of items. Tags is something that is heavily used by some of our customers. And in order to prevent that a tag does not get deleted by mistake, you can now lock a tag, which means that you can prevent regular users from editing it or removing it. And that makes it a little bit more stable over time then. We have expanded the possibility of coloring in our charts. As you probably know, there are 4 color schemes per standard. Now there is a more dynamic color scheme which can show you chart breakdowns then using the colors from your drop-down values. So if you have a number of test results where you want to display the results in a pie chart, and the passed is green and the failed is red and the not executed is blue, then aligned elements will automatically show the chart in these colors. We saw that we added copy functionality to queries. We have also done that to charts and to trace tables. You will notice now that when you create a copy of an item, you will be asked if you also want to copy the traces. And another nice thing is that when you send out an email action, an email from an email workflow action, we can now also attach a file. And where does that make sense then? Well, for example, if you want to invite people to a signature round, we can now then automatically attach the document that is to be signed into the email. So the person that receives the email get immediate access to the underlying document that they're supposed to sign off on, and they can read it then before they log in and sign off. So there are many, many more items that we have also added, but I will not show them here today. They are more detailed and more fine-grained. But what I would like to highlight is that we have a new additional product being cooking. Also for the last 12 months, we're going to add EQMS support to Aligned. And we have been working with pilot customers on refining the functionality for our EQMS capabilities. And that's a product that we're going to launch in the end of Q2, as it looks like right now. And all of you that have participated here today will get an invitation to that launch. And I hope to see many of you there. I really think that EQMS is the next step in which we at Aligned will go. because we have world-class design control capabilities here, and many of the underlying functionality can be very, very well used in an EQMS situation. So with an aligned EQMS and aligned design control management with aligned elements, you will have a very, very powerful combination of products to support your medical device development. Again, I want to take the possibility to thank all of you that has given us suggestions on features to implement. Please continue to tell us what you need to make your work with aligned elements more efficient and more productive. Those of you who are Aligned Elements customers, we will reach out to you regarding upgrading your existing systems. All of you who are SaaS customers, you will receive emails about this as well. And in the conversations that we have with you, then please let us know what kind of configuration changes you want us to activate here in order to activate many of these new functions that we have presented here today. We'll be, as always, happy to support you with that. We got one question in the chat about the new layout. The layout is a configuration option. It's a couple of flags in the RVT templates. I'll be happy to show those of you who are interested in this. Yeah, that's everything that we had here for today. We will keep work on aligned elements, and we hope that you support us, giving us tips on new features that we can bring to you.